Kind of sorry you gave up acting now, huh, Leon? Well, your fans are here. Well, thank you. We had done a screening of this out in East Hampton at Guildhall for the Hamptons International Film Festival that I'm on the board of, and we interviewed both Tony and Leon. We screened the film out there. We recorded the interview. This is kind of superfluous to you because you're here for the interview. But we recorded that interview. It's going to be on the radio in a couple of weeks. But I'm very grateful to have a chance to come back and talk to you again because, as everybody knows, and I say this genuinely and sincerely, I'm somebody who saw Leon in that one film, that one Kubrick film, I should say, and fell madly in love with him. We would mimic him all the time. And whenever we wanted to convey the greatest amount of indignation to someone, we would put on the voice of Leon Vitali from, someone would bring you, I guess you'd bring somebody their hamburger, and it wasn't cooked properly. And we turn to the waiter and say, "I have not had satisfaction." We do our Leon Vitali moment of indignation. Now I want to ask you, how did you discover, as a documentary filmmaker, how did you discover him as a subject for your film?
We met because I was, or still, working on a Kubrick documentary, and so he was on the must find and locate and film with was Leon.
But you didn't finish the other film?
No.
You're going to?
I'm going to now, because when we met, and then I was just struck with this amazing story, an amazing man, so I decided I figured, well, Kubrick is gone, he can wait. Put it aside, and then we
put Kubrick on hold.
Yes. Then I asked him, and he didn't want to do it. At first, he felt like...
Why didn't you want to do it?
Well, it's kind of a huge public therapy session. It kind of feels a little bit, and you've got to be honest, or else there's no point doing it, And then I understood. I asked my children, with what they thought. And I say children, they're all grown-ups now. And they said, do it. And the thing is that I know that they would have been involved with it, and I didn't know what they were going to say, and people who are close to you. It's a whole massive thing.
But what was the difficult thing for you to recount? What was the most difficult part for you to go over again? When you see the film even now, when you get little glimpses of what's I don't want to pry, but what's painful for you or difficult for you to relive?
My face.
How little you were paid?
Hearing my voice. I can't stand my voice. And when I hear it, I really
right.
I'm not alone in that. There's a lot of people who can't stand the sound of their own voice.
Right.
I met some.
I'm quite fond of the sound of your voice, actually. But were there parts of this?
No.
You for people who obviously see the film, you're a man who has a going career. You work in the theater and film and television in England. Not easy to do back then. To have a career and to really get a footing there. And you make this film with this legend, and you go and do the film, and people are very excited about you. And you quit to go on and become his associate.
Yeah.
And when you look back at that story, is there anything about it you regret, or you?
I'd be dishonest if I said, I've watched a movie and I've watched an actor I really admire and I love, and I think, ooh, I wish I could do that now. I do. It happens, and I defy anyone to say that they've gone through a life without having regret about something. But it seems to be, you gave up. I didn't think of it as giving up. I thought of it as learning and finding out and staying. As an actor, you come, you do your bit, you go. And what I saw when I was working with Stanley was, you're there for the whole process, and you're there from the very beginning to the very end. It's a part of you. You created something as well, and it's just a wonderful feeling that you fulfill it when you work on a certain part of that project and you're actually contributing to it. And that's a lovely thought.
Do you watch a lot of films now and see?
Oh, yeah.
And who's an actor you see now that you really think that you love? No, but I mean, Come now. But I'm saying, but who's a person who you see now and you say to yourself, well, I don't want to put everything through the prism of Stanley, but you were so good. Who's somebody you say, wow, Stanley would love to have made a movie with him. He's Stanley's kind of
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Absolutely. You know, there's commitment. You see it there, and it's beautiful. And I don't think when you first see him on the screen in anything he's been in, I don't think, oh, there's Daniel Day-Lewis. I kind of think, yeah, that's Lincoln. Yeah, that's this egomaniac making clothes. And there are a lot of actors who are like that. But that's the kind of actor I love and I admire. It's beautiful to watch.
I mean, it's funny because when you watch this movie, and I want to be careful that I don't phrase this the wrong way. It's like you get a sense that just slightly, not to this degree that it's unhealthy, but it reminds me of Sunset Boulevard, where he goes to the party, and she's back at the mansion, and he's at the party. He should be having a good time with his peers and enjoying himself. And he's with young Hollywood, and they're all living their lives. And there's something that pulls him back to the mansion. He's got to go back, and he's obsessed with her and what is going on with her. You know, she's never dull. She's never boring. And I wonder that although there aren't a lot of similarities between Norma Desmond and Stanley Kubrick, nonetheless, I think of people like that with his talent. They create this magnetic field.
Yeah, that's true.
And did you find that was a part of it, or you just got caught up in Stanley's magnetic field? His work.
Probably, absolutely. I mean, the thing was that when you worked for Stanley, you actually spent so little time at home, you felt weird about going home. Because the whole world was there and you never escaped it. And even at home you never escaped it. I mean, he was on the phone like that. But that's for me, that's just a wonderful thing, there are people like that. They talk about Stanley's obsession, but when you think about any artist that you admire, painter, composer, whatever, they've been as obsessive about what they do as Stanley was obsessed about what they do. And that's, for me, that's an artist.
What were Kubrick's pleasures in terms of film watching? Who did he admire? Did he have guilty? Did he stay home? If you walked in and you caught him alone in a room at night having a snack, was he watching The Honeymooners? I thought he loved anything that just was honest, raw, and simple.
He loved it, absolutely.
What filmmakers did he admire?
Kurosawa. Oh God, I mean, let's say, it's sorry? Yeah, Kieslowski. He loved Kieslowski. He loved it. And all these filmmakers. He also loved, Letter from an Unknown Woman, and I can't remember. It slipped my mind.
Max Ophuls.
Thank you. And he loved his films, especially Letter from an Unknown Woman and Madame de. And when I went to work on The Shining, we were shooting well into the evening, and he came up and he said, they're showing Madame de at 5 o'clock. You're going to go to see it. And I said, but we won't be finished shooting because we didn't finish it till 7:30. He said, no, you're going to go and see that film. And so I went to see that film, and it's a beautiful, wonderful, wonderful film. So he liked Max Ophuls, and he liked people, what can I say? Sometimes, Battle of Algiers, he thought was a wonderful, wonderful film. Zed, which I think you see, was a wonderful, wonderful film. And Fantastic Possibilities, yeah. He liked one-offs from people because they seemingly never made the same film again, never with the same gravitas. He liked a lot of Spanish directors. His name, he made Carmen film that Carmen. Thank you. And
we're hanging out with the right crowd. You ask any question, we have the answer. It's like a college out here. But I was going to say, two more quick things. One is that would he immerse himself in the film acting and the films of the stars he hired? Meaning, I'm sure that for him, he was not immune. Some of the greatest directors who've ever made movies have confided in me where if I cast this guy or this woman in the movie, they were going to give me 30 million to make the movie, and if I cast this guy and this woman, they were going to give me 60 million to make the movie.
Yeah.
There are casting imperatives for everybody.
Right.
And I'm wondering that he found people who were great actors and who were right for the roles, but were also stars of their day. Ryan O'Neal was a huge movie star in his day. And was he somebody who he knew their films? Did he?
Yeah.
Or did he have to go home and do the homework and watch,
He watched
Chinatown and
no,
where he knew his career?
He watched these films
He knew them.
all the time. He had films brought to his house,
Right.
and we'd watch 3, 4, 5 sometimes over a weekend.
Right.
So he was so
Immersed.
in film.
And my other question apropos of that is, I know other people, this is for either one of you where you can comment on, which was that you see, obviously, early on, and Lolita is a good example, and I guess, what I'm saying is women in his films, and a kind of a dearth of women in his films, or women who are not really prominent. The woman arrives at the end, and she's the deus ex machina, if you will, in Full Metal, and in Clockwork, women are victims of sexual assault.
Right.
In The Shining, he never really had I guess Nicole became the closest to being a protagonist in a film. But did he ever want to make a film through the eyes of a female character?
He never really talked about that. But what I would say about a film like Lolita, for instance, you just think, okay, well, who ended up the winner in the whole situation, which was Lolita? He ended up in jail, and being the pederast he was, and he paid the price. But she came out had the future in front of her, and had, they were going to immigrate to Alaska. He gave all the money from the rental of the house and from the sale of the house. She came out of it really well, and I don't know if you thought this about Lolita, but she was 14 years old, Sue Lyon, when she played that part, and she was the most together. It was the most together performance. It was you always knew that she was stronger than him throughout that movie.
I made a movie once, and we wanted Sue Lyon to do a cameo.
All right.
And the movie, she would have been perfect for the cameo because of some of the themes of the movie. And the producers, I found my way through a chain of people, and I got her on the phone.
All right.
And I spoke to her on the phone in this very eerie phone call. She's very reclusive, and she kind of agreed to do the film. And then the producers balked because she wanted to be paid. She wanted money. She didn't want a ton of money, but she wanted real money to come. And they said that they didn't think that she was worth that amount of money, and didn't think that the audience really would get it. I thought, okay. I said, if she just walks through the frame in the background, it's going to enhance your whole fucking movie like that. It was that kind of group of people. But anyway, not one of my favorites. But it's interesting because I see that in him. You see that there's not a development. Because even Eyes Wide Shut is really more Tom's movie.
Yeah, it is. But in The Shining, when he was getting the production together, he saw Shelley Duvall in Three Women, and it was a marvelous performance. He loved it, thought it was great. And when he went to Warner Bros. To say Shelley was going to be playing that role, they said, no, you've got to have someone like Jane Fonda. And he kind of thinks, wait a minute, Jane Fonda, submissive? I can't see it, And so I think it would have been interesting if he had got around to making a film through a woman's eyes, because I think he lived with all his daughters and his wife.
Yeah.
He lived with them. And
did anybody film him archivally, either off-set or on-set? Did somebody shoot a lot of doc footage of him? Did he allow himself to be filmed while he was working even at home?
Well, yeah, they
where's that footage?
8mm.
Don't see the garbage bin in London.
No. They're not. But there is 8mm footage of the family and,
And he's on camera?
Yeah.
Where is that?
He's on camera. The family.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say that before we run out of time here, that we have run out of time, that obviously, in a world now where people, you make a film and they want to put everything on film. They want to put every component of you. You shoot the film, and while you're shooting the film, they say, do you mind if we shoot you with this crew over here while you're shooting the film? And then when you're over there talking to them, do you mind if we shoot some of you talking to him? When you go to the bathroom, do you mind if we get in there in the bathroom? And it's in this world where everything is filmed or social media, blah, 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 blah. And you don't have that record of Kubrick.
No.
You don't, if it's there, it's private, and he's very private. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. What I love about this film is thank God you were there to come and tell us what you saw.